Welcome back, Vol fans, to another edition of the Vols for Life podcast. I'm Bob. This is my brother Tim. We're going to go over the post-spring schedule predictions. We're going to touch on each team, give you a brief breakdown of each one. Nothing major. We're just going to try to give you a little something to go by, talk about open dates and stuff like that, and give you an idea. We'll do this again later in the year. We'll also do an individual team, go in depth, look at their who they lost, what they got coming back, the transfers, injuries, you name it. We'll go over them really.
Over the course of the summer, we'll probably go do a deep dive into
Yeah.
each team at one point or another.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're going to start off with the first team on the schedule, Virginia. You want to talk about that, Tim?
Well, Virginia is should be an easy win. I'll be honest about it. 27-point favorites, I believe it was. 28-point favorites. Early line. They had issues last year, though. The worst being they had a campus shooting from a former player that killed some players. They canceled their last two games of the season, which probably would have been wins for them. They two of the worst teams they was going to play, so they probably would have finished 5-7. But as it was, they were 3-7, and they're not looking that good. So I'm thinking right off the bat here in Nashville, Big Orange Nation is going to be pretty happy after week number one. But that leads us into week number two, Austin Peay.
Yeah, I'm just going to go and say chalk up a W on that one.
You're going out on a limb there, Bob.
Yeah, I'm putting money down. Anybody wants to take it straight up, I'll put money on Tennessee on this one.
Yeah, I will go ahead and double down on that too, Bob. Whatever you want to. I think we're going to be pretty happy on that then. But it really leads us into, Bob, the beginning of the meat of the schedule in the third week. A common foe we've had over the years that falls in that third week so often.
At Florida. That's the key, I think, this year. Florida, I've kind of looked at them a little bit. Their offensive line was really good last year. I think it takes a little bit of a step back there. You lose Richardson. He's not an elite quarterback, but I do think he was, a pretty good quarterback. He was definitely a guy that gave defenses trouble because of his legs. Now, they get Graham Mertz in. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, it was Graham Mertz out of Wisconsin, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Was that? High ranked recruit out of high school.
Yeah.
But he went to an offense that, let's face it, is not going to showcase the quarterback.
Definitely a different kind of quarterback, more of a statue type. And Florida lost 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line. Now they have confidence. If you listen to their guys, they have confidence that their offensive line is still going to be a very good part of the team. I guess we'll see. But now, if it ain't, and you got a statue back there,
that's not a good combination.
Yeah, and Banks tends to dial up pressure.
He does. We do our best to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And with I'm sure Florida's offensive line is not going to be as bad as I think it's going to be. And I'm also pretty sure, though, it's not going to be as good as some Florida fans think it'll be either.
Yeah, that's going to be a real key game for us. I'd feel much better about this game if it's here. Playing at Florida, it makes it tough. But one thing we'll know, they play at Utah the first game of the year. That'll be that game I'll definitely be watching. And we'll know a lot more about that team.
Yeah, because they're going to have to put it all out there. That should be a really entertaining game. And they are going to have to see right offhand, is that offensive line semi-fixed at all? How's those two running backs? Got real good running backs down there. Are they able to open up the holes for those guys?
Yeah, they do have a couple of really good running backs. Etienne and is it Davis?
I'm drawing a blank right now.
Yeah, somewhere that's the name that pops in my head. I may be wrong about that. But yeah, they've got some really good running backs. They're going early on in the season, especially at our point in the season. They're going to be trying to rely on that offensive line.
I would bet.
Run the game. They got one good wide receiver. The rest of the wide receivers are very iffy. So I really expect them to try to run the ball against us.
That said, I'm sure, though, if you looked at their rankings of the recruits over the years. I think someone recently put out a blue chip index,
Yeah.
and Florida's on the list. We're not.
Yeah.
Fact is, I think we was seventh on that list actually
In the conference.
in the conference. We're still not playing with a stacked deck.
No.
We just got a stacked coaching staff.
That's a lot of it. That's the truth there. That one's going to be a tough one. We'll see about that one. We'll know more, like I said, after the first game, after they play Utah. I have a better idea on that one. The next game is everybody's trap game. It's UTSA. Number 23 ranked team, according to at least one publication early on in the year.
Yeah, I don't think I could jump on it that high, but I mean they're considered a quality non-group of five team. Only had two losses last year, I think it was. High-powered offense, really good quarterback. Mobile.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with them looking at their team, like he said, high-powered offense. They beat some teams that's at their level, and some of them beat them good.
Yeah.
But they played Texas, lost to Texas, I think by 21. Lost to Houston, which was a pretty good team. But that's about all the really good teams they played. But that is a game that's you would think is a blowout. Typically, that one's a trap game, and if we can come out with a win, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest about it. I'm not nearly as worried about that as a lot of people, but we'll save the picks for last. But I think I'll be pretty happy that day.
Yeah, I think so too. The next game is circled on our board and Heupel's board. This is a revenge game, South Carolina. This time, though, it's here. They ain't going to sneak up on us.
No.
I'll just go ahead and tell you, we're going to kick the crap out of it. I mean, whatever the spread is, take it. This game's going to get ugly. I mean, South Carolina thinking big, but they're weak in two spots. That's going to be critical. Offensive line and defensive line.
I thought you were going to say character and integrity, but
Yeah, well,
okay.
Let's go with it. Yeah. But, yeah, you don't want to be bad at tackle, and you don't want to be a poor rushing team. And you better be able to go after pass and stop the run if you're going to play us, because we're going to run it all over. This game's going to get ugly. This game's going to be what it should have been last year. But
Yeah.
that is, don't want to get into predictions, but I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm marking down South Carolina as a W.
Yeah. Well, one thing about South Carolina, Bob, we'll know by the time they play us what kind of team we're playing. Last year they were Jekyll and Hyde. To be quite honestly, before they pulled off the miracle against us and then Clemson, they looked bad. The coaching team was the staff was on hot seat. People were demanding an offensive coordinator be canned. A lot of people was getting rid of for Beamer. His seat was getting a little warm. They was tired of his antics and looking like crap. Spencer Rattler looked like me
Yeah.
for most of the season. He barely had more touchdowns than I did before he played us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they start off this team a good looking game early in the season. Start off, I'll be watching that North Carolina game against Drake May. Then they'll have a breather against Furman, I think it is.
Yeah.
But then they go to UGA, so that's a W for obviously the Bulldogs, and then they play Mississippi State, which I'm not ready to say what Mississippi State is yet after the passing of Coach Leach.
Yeah.
But I could see up there and say, could South Carolina be 1-3 when they come into Neyland? They could be.
Possible. Yeah. Yeah, I think they got one or two losses, I think, by the time they come into town. Maybe it gets a little bit of that, what's that word I'm looking for? And when it sticks with South Carolina, they're just so,
Crappy,
no,
pathetic,
delusional.
delusion.
South Carolina, historically, is delusional fan base. I mean, they're always thinking national championships, even though I think their highest ranking ever is like like 6 or 7. And then after that, it drops way back.
Well, I think last time they was in the top 10, I think we beat them back about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe the Spurrier.
But yeah, I think you're right.
I give the fans credit though; they've never given up on that team. They've
Yeah.
got a fan base that really does love their team.
Yeah.
More power to them. I mean, I'm
Seek counseling. Seek counseling.
yes, that's probably true too.
Yeah.
So after that game, Bob, though, we got Texas A&M.
Well, actually, we got an open date.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's even better.
Yeah.
Before A&M.
Yeah. Open date next, which probably rather have it a game or two back, but it might come at a good time. A&M's a tricky game. I mean, that's a game that I really don't know what to go with. A lot of super talented teams.
Yeah, number 4 in the blue chip index.
Yeah.
Talent everywhere on that team.
I mean, loaded team. And there was lots of reasons for what they had going on last year. They had a lot of injuries last year.
Jimbo Fisher was their coach.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, you know, I really don't know about them this year. We play them. They'll be our 7th game for them. At that, we'll be coming off an open date. Makes me feel a heck of a lot better about that game. They play Miami, Auburn, Arkansas, then Bama before they play us.
I really like that Bama game right before us. They're going to be physically in a war against Bama, and that's going to be their 6th game in a row. By the time they play us, they're going to be feeling it a little bit.
Yeah,
and we're going to have an open date to if they're doing good this year. If Petrino's come in and made some changes on that offense, we've got half a season of film, and then we can look at it and be prepared for A&M that week.
Yeah, they could be a team where they're looking at coaching, firing Fisher by the time we get to our game, or they could be a very good team.
So it's one of the hottest teams in the country. They could be a top 10 team easily.
That one's a really hard one to figure out on that one.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the team maybe in the country that everybody's kind of like, what is going to be A&M this year's season?
Yeah, that was a tricky one. The next game is at Alabama. They'll be circling that game like we're circling South Carolina.
Oh yeah, revenge, you bet. They're waiting for us.
Yeah. One thing I do think that works in our advantage, it'll be Bama's 8th game with no open dates going into that point. They'll be playing 4 straight SEC games leading into that. You know, are they kind of beat up? Some injuries. And I'll just say this too. Bama, I don't think. I mean, they're the number 1 in the blue chip ratio by a good margin. So maybe I'm thinking they're going to be down a little bit, and that's wrong. But went out and got a quarterback in the portal from Notre Dame, which signifies to me that they got serious quarterback problems. And the quarterback they had last year saved their butt time and time again.
Yeah. I'll be honest about it. I was much more impressed with Bryce Young last year than I was his Heisman Trophy year. Bryce Young was a magician for him last year. They could have lost a couple, 3 more games if he had not played last year. I don't understand what their issue was. Talent is not it.
Mm-hmm.
Fact is, I'll be honest about it. For everybody, and I know people in the comments will say something about this, but all the people that always want to talk about Saban is the GOAT. He's the GOAT recruiter.
Yeah.
That's what he is. He's the GOAT recruiter. Probably the GOAT when it comes to some other off the field things too, possibly. Yeah. We'll save that for maybe a later episode when we want to piss Bama fans off.
Yeah.
But talent is never the issue. Every game they've ever lost under Saban, they've been a more talented team.
Yeah, always.
I mean, at best, it's been even against maybe a Georgia.
Right.
At best.
Yeah, they're loaded all the time. There's no excuse for them to lose ball games as loaded as they are. But I really think they're going to lose some games this year. Quarterback play is going to bite them, I think.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be able to physically outdo most people, but on teams they have to score on, the quarterbacks, I don't know. We'll see.
I think they get at least 2 losses again this year, at least 2. So we'll see.
It'll break my heart, but
yeah. It's like I'm always rooting for Tennessee and whoever's playing for Alabama.
That's right. So after that, Bob, we got another away game at Kentucky. The annual stepchild that we beat on every year.
every year.
But you know what? Kentucky might be a better team this year than they were last year.
Yeah, they lose Levis, which is no loss as far as I'm
What?
concerned.
Oh, he was a generational quarterback up there.
I thought so too.
Go Titans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But they got an open date before us, which man, that's always key. You
Late
get
in the year.
you always getting people back. You get banged up. You get another week to prepare, scheme up. This is a game a little bit concerns me more than typical years.
Honestly, this is a trap game that I worry about.
Yeah, and they just played Missouri the week before us, so
Now I say trap game. Let me back up. I hate to interrupt you, Bob. I said trap game simply because, and it might not be the best word because, obviously the team we play after Kentucky isn't a great team, but this is the one that does worry me. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
yeah.
Bob. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think they'll be pretty good. They got a new offensive coordinator,
Which is their old offensive coordinator.
right? New quarterback coming in, which honestly is better than the one they had.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if it isn't.
Their offensive line should be a little bit better, and that was one thing that hurt them really a lot last year. So that game is not a for sure W, but it'll be in one of those games where I think we'll definitely be favored. But I think it'll be a closer game than it was last year for sure.
Yeah, probably a lot closer to the one 2 years ago, Heupel's first season, without as many points though.
Right.
Probably for either team.
I'll let you go into the next couple, Tim.
Well, the next one's going to be UConn. And there's not much I can tell you about UConn other than they're Connecticut. You
Right.
know,
That's about it. Yeah.
they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that. And we're going to come away. I'll go ahead and give you the prediction on that. Obviously, that's a W. I love my cupcakes. I don't know about you. I got a sweet tooth. Give me 12. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the season, you're 12-0, and somebody will be saying, "Oh, put them in the playoffs." So give me all the cupcakes. Bring them on.
Oh yeah, I'll take them. That they don't look back onto your schedule 20 years from now and say, "Well, you played some easy teams." They just want to look. They just look at that record.
Oh, I've heard so many people. You are what your record is. Okay, then go play in the NFL for 1 year and see what Georgia's record is. And don't give me that stuff about, well, that's different. No, it's no different than playing. The biggest thing about college football is the disparity in schedules.
It's a huge difference.
It is. If you play a loaded schedule versus a cupcake schedule, you're different. I don't. You have the same team, you have vastly different records. So, but anyway, that's another episode for
Oh
another
yeah,
day
a
too.
little rant there. But
Yeah.
next week we play at Missouri. Pretty good defensive team. Drinkowitz there has a decent team, but this is another game where I just don't see, even it being at Missouri late in the year, weather could be an issue.
Weather could be a big issue. Columbia, Missouri, second week of November.
Yeah,
That could be a problem.
with a good defense.
Good defense.
Yeah,
I'd say they'll be an upper third defense in the league this year, maybe.
yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, they was tough. They gave Georgia fits last year. I mean, they played Georgia tough. I thought they were going into the third quarter or midway through the third. They had a shot at winning that ball game, which is just
That's looking back on it, it's hard to believe.
it is.
But they've been our another whipping post for us. Heupel has eat them up 2 years in a row. Don't matter how good that defense has been. It's been score quick, score often.
Yeah, and they played Georgia the week before us, so maybe they'll be beat up a little bit.
Oh, boy, they got the two worst games back to back.
Yeah,
I know that's a couple of weeks they wish they could just skip, to be honest about it.
oh, I guarantee it.
But that brings us to Georgia.
Yeah,
And look, Georgia's not unbeatable. Last year, to be honest about it, if we'd had better offensive line play, that game may have went a different direction. But if and that, but candies and whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just they were better than us.
yeah.
They beat us.
Well, they're loaded. They're
Yeah.
absolutely loaded. And the key to beating this offense is defensive line play. If you can beat us up front, defensive line, then you can
Drop
make us,
extra in the back.
make us one dimensional.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can. That is a big key with Georgia. I mean, they're loaded, but And the schedule really don't work out for us very well either.
No, it doesn't.
Because, I mean, they play up tempo Ole Miss the week before us.
Yeah, that helps them.
It sure does. I think one of the keys to stopping us also is having a pretty strong safety play. And they have two of the best in the country. So it concerns me. But I will say this, the game is in Knoxville this year. If we go in that game, let's say with no losses or one loss, that place will be rocking. You're going to have some false starts on the Georgia side.
We certainly saw them on our side last year.
Yeah.
As bad as I've ever seen.
And I'll just tell you right now, Georgia last year, they beat us. They got a good team. But man, Muschamp, the defensive coordinator, loves to get handsy. They want to grab the wide receivers, and they grabbed our wide receivers play after play after play.
Well, that's Muschamp's defensive philosophy. Everywhere he's been, he teaches the DBs to grab those receivers and hold.
It does.
And you know what? It works. Basketball coaches do that all the time. They can't call every foul. They won't call every foul. It's not that bad an ideal. I'll be honest about it. But, I mean, their talent level is still so far ahead of ours. The only thing we have hope for is, in my opinion, home field and the guy on the sideline.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not willing to just say that's a loss myself.
No, we could win this game.
In fact, it's at home, and I really think we put up some points in this game that we haven't in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see what happens there. We'll know a little more about our team at that point.
A whole lot more, yeah. Second last game of the year. Speaking of last game of the year, Peabody University. Vanderbilt.
Candy.
Vandy. We love you.
Yeah.
Every year. Except for 3 years I've blocked out of my mind just a few years back under some previous coaches where they losing to Vandy 3 years in a row. Unbelievable.
That was, yeah.
But the most interesting thing about this game, Bob, is the fact that Vandy has an open date before the last game of the year.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that before?
No.
I haven't either.
No. I mean, they were really ticked off with the scheduling that they would get an open date that late. It's almost
I disagree with you 100% on that.
because it's playing us.
Well, two things. They got 2 open dates.
Right.
Yeah, they got an open date in the middle of the season. They played week 0 against Hawaii, I think it is. So they've snuck a second open date in there.
Oh, yeah.
So they have the regular open date, and then they have an open date before us. Hey, and Vandy won 2 conference games last year.
Yeah.
Beat Florida.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it was Missouri.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, that looks at our schedule, man. Vandy, Kentucky, Missouri, all probably better than what they typically are. That's worries me a little bit, but we
It does.
should win all those games. But Tim, let's give you a little predictions time.
Yeah.
It's predictions time. What do you think?
okay. As far as overall record, I'm going to go ahead and pop it out there. It's 10-2. I don't think we're going to take a big step back this year because I think our defense steps up.
I agree with that.
Now, as far as the losses, I'm going to go ahead and say Georgia's going to be one of them. I don't think the schedule does us any favors. I think we're still at a major talent disadvantage with that game. And gun to my head, I would say Alabama will be our second loss, simply because, man, they've got this game circled.
Yeah, they do.
They still have so much more talent than we do. But I could see us taking that game. But I'm going 10-2.
Okay. Well, I'm going the same thing. I'm saying 10-2. But I'm a little different than you. I think we beat Bama or Georgia. I think we take one of them again this year.
Okay.
Bama's, I think, just that quarterback play. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with us. But I'm not willing to say it's at Alabama. They've got this game circled. I mean, you imagine how many women and got beat last year after last year's game, and how many sheep was abused. But anyway,
No, that's any day of the week. But it might have went up a little bit.
but yeah,
But question for you, Bob.
yeah,
And I know this has been a question posed out there for many years. But after a game like last year, and everything, and with the wife situation and everything, and you get some divorces. Are they still brother and sister after that?
That's a good question, Tim.
Yeah,
I think legally in Alabama, it's tricky. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know if ownership with farm animals applies here, but
I'm not sure, but I'm sure they know.
yeah, I mean,
They deal with this quite often. But
that's true. But yeah, I think we get Bama or Georgia, one of the two. But the one I think one of we lose one of the other ones. Either it's Florida, South Carolina, A&M, maybe a Kentucky, Missouri. Some might sneak up on us. I think we have one game where Milton just can't hit the wide open guys going down deep, and we lose a game we shouldn't lose.
you know what? I'm less worried about Milton's deep throws this year. And if I had to say anything, I mean, his completion percentage is really improved. I think it's real good. It's just, I wonder how many times, Hendon kept drives alive on the third down. And, I could see Joe having an issue, maybe sometimes a drive not staying alive on the big downs.
I agree. He lost a little bit of weight in off season, try to get more mobile, but
Yeah, that's true.
I think he doesn't do well with pressure. Not near as good as.
But he knows that too. That's why he lost the weight. His escapability, he rose into pressure.
I reckon that's something he really worked on in off season, and hopefully he's improved on that quite a bit. But it seems like that's something you either have or you don't have. So I think he takes a few more sacks, and I think he has one of those games. I think he has improved with the deep ball. But in this game, after this offense, most routes you have either two or three potential routes within that route. There's usually some type of dig or a post fly.
Yeah.
There's something in there, and it's predetermined based off whatever the safety plays a lot of times. So if if you if the opposing defense is giving you the deep ball and taking away the other, and you can't hit it, then it's going to be a long day for you.
It is.
And I think one of these games we lose, we shouldn't. But I do believe we will beat one of Bama or Georgia this year.
Well, that'd be wonderful. So basically, we're both going to go way out on a limb and say pretty much the same season we had last year, which I would definitely take
Oh yeah,
this year after. And do not take a step back. I think it's huge for this team. Don't take a step back. Continue to recruit well, and then we're going to build this thing.
yeah. Defense a little better, offense a little worse, but overall, I think we're with a dang good football team again this year.
All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a like, subscribe, leave some comments. Tell us what you did like or didn't like, or you disagreed with. But till next time, people, go Vols.
Go Vols.